Chris was a man that every time I had an experience with him, I was lifted up. There was humor, there was tears, but I felt good about the experience I had with Chris. And it seems as though his words and demeanor were that of acceptance, understanding, and love. And I first want my wife to know that, and I want my children to know that. Anyone else knows that, that's great. But I want them to know that more than anyone else. To do that, I've got to do the work to make sure that I'm not allowing other things, other ideas, other institutions to control how I feel or how I respond. Or should I say react to those things? Because I would say ministry can be amazing. Church can be amazing. If people are going in there understanding that I actually am loved by God and I have joy to be with people.
Right.
I'm glad to be with them in strength or weakness. Then that means then that I'm going to have interactions with them, and the currency of relationship, which is joy, is being given back and forth. And if that's the currency that I live my life by, then I can control that. Now, I'm not controlled. If that is the case, then I don't care about titles, right? At the end of the day, what I care about is that you, VJ, understand how valuable you are. Understand how the experiences you have of traveling all over the world brings an incredible insight into different cultures and people and dynamics that can be applied with your gifts to influence a sphere of people. Everyone has a sphere of influence. And the question is, are you building that sphere with a legacy that people will want to carry? Or are you building that sphere with a legacy that people are going to want to put down like a hot potato as soon as you're dead?
Hi, I'm Vijayan Swaminathan. I'm the founder and CEO of Zadwell. At Zadwell, we help our clients transform into the digital space. We help from the web technologies to blockchain to Internet of Things and a wide range of services. Over the years, I can see the impact of technology that can have on business of all sizes. But I've also seen a gap in the market, a lack of quality support and outstanding technology solutions that truly meet the needs of the client. And that's where we come in. And ever since 2018, we started Zadwell. We've been helping more clients to digitally transform their business. We want to provide that personalized and dedicated support and care for our clients. And through this process, we want to see our clients thrive through the digital transformation process. At Zadwell, we have worked with a wide range of clients, from small businesses to startups to large enterprises and public sector companies. We have the experience and expertise to help you with your goals and an ever-changing technology landscape. So if you're looking for a technology partner who truly cares about your success, here we are. It's been an incredible journey so far, and I'm so excited to see where we'll go next. Let's get to work.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pathfinders. Today we have a brand new guest, Christopher Friesen. Christopher, welcome to Pathfinders. Welcome to our show. Please allow me to introduce you. Christopher is an author, keynote speaker, emotional intelligence coach for men. He's guiding men from rock bottom to rising strong. And the way it goes is like when life unravels through divorce, burnout, addiction, recovery, or a late in life ADHD diagnosis, Chris Friesen steps in as a trusted guide for men ready to rebuild, refocus, and rise with purpose. With decades of lived wisdom and deep emotional intelligence, Chris specializes in helping men in their 50s and beyond reclaim the clarity, structure, and inner strength that they thought they had lost. His mission is clear: to help men stop drifting and start leading again at home, at work, and in life. Whether navigating a midlife identity crisis or piercing together life after collapse, Chris meets men where they are and walks with them toward who they are meant to become. At the heart of his work is the Focus Comeback Kit, a powerful 5-week reboot system combining neuroscience, emotional mastery, and masculine groundedness. This isn't just a program, it's a launch pad for your strongest chapter yet. It doesn't stop there. With coaching, community, and the upcoming Master Warrior Retreat, Chris is building a movement where modern men no longer suffer in silence but rise in strength together. Chris, it's an absolute pleasure to sit down with you today. I highly appreciate if you can share about your journey in your own words, please.
Yeah, thank you. Vijay, it is exciting to be here, and I'm humbled by the opportunity to even be here. So my journey really started with the opportunity to begin learning emotional intelligence. And the reason I started learning emotional intelligence was because I wanted to ensure that my past was not being triggered and hijacking my present with my family and loved ones. And what I started to notice a lot once I became a father was that there were things that would happen in my life that brought me memories of my own childhood. And I'm going, crap. There's that exact things that I did not want to repeat happening to me. Not only happening to me, but happening to my children, because it's happening through me to my kids. And so that journey is in my book that's coming out here very soon, called Growing Up at 50, Building the Legacy I Wish I Had. And so in there is where I really begin talking about the idea that it was really in my feet. I started to actually literally grow up as a man, started becoming a man, started letting go of things and ensuring that triggers were not ruling my life, ruling my relationships, or ruining my life and relationships. So I don't know if that answers that question for you. Right. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Before we get into your book, and there are a few topics we want to get into, if you were to give like a summary of like how was your last 50 years?
Okay. Yeah.
How was growing up? Like if you want to give a quick snapshot of your life, you have done a lot of things over several decades, Chris. I'm sure there's a lot of wisdom and lessons. And how was the journey overall from where were you born, and how did it all come together?
Okay. Well, no, thank you. Yeah. So I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and the place where Winnie the Pooh was originally from. And so it's important. It's important to know where Winnie the Pooh comes from.
Right.
And my childhood, if I can, I'm going to give you one scene. Okay. In my book coming out, there's more, but I'm going to give you one scene, and I want to make sure that we just kind of warn those listeners really quick right now. Make sure there's no kids in the room, because it can be triggering. So this is the temperature of my entire childhood, right up to 17 years old. From birth to 17. At 8 years old, I started coming upstairs from the basement because I heard yelling and screaming again. And when I walked into my parents' bed, my mother was sitting on the floor on that side over there. And she was huddled together with her arms around her knees in tears. She was sobbing, blood coming down her lip. My father turned around, pushed past me with the gun still in his hand that he had tried to use her to shoot her, to kill her that day. Fortunately, by the grace of God, the firing pin did not work properly and the bullet didn't fire. So instead he beat her with it. That's 8 years old. That was the temperature of my entire childhood. There's a lot of other stories I'm not going to share because I want to ensure that people hear more about the power of resilience and transformation instead of going too deep into that over there. Right. So that's my childhood. Then I decided to go into ministry. I figured I'm going to help young people. I remember in my 20s thinking, because I'd gone to camp and Bible camp. And for me, as a kid growing up, Bible camp was the 1 week every year that I was safe. 1 week. And I loved it.
May I ask you a question? Like, if you
Yeah,
don't mind me
sure.
asking?
No.
It's a super tough childhood as a child, as an 8-year-old, witnessing that day after day until you were 17 and whatnot. It's a super tough child. Like, I could imagine how it would have been going through that day after day, year after year. What does that kind of an environment do to a child, Chris? I mean, what's your observation? Now you're older, you have children of your own.
Yeah.
What does that do to a child's? Because the child doesn't understand. The child can process only so much.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Right.
So thanks for asking that. That's a great question. One of the things that I understand now, because I love studying science and brain science and development of children, and I'm remarried again, blended family of 7 kids. So I need to understand brains for kids. But in that, with my own story, what I do know is that from the age of 18 months old to 3 years old, it is the primary job of the caregiver to help children move out of what we would call contracting emotions. There's 6 primary contracting emotions that all children experience. That's anger, disgust, fear, sadness, hopeless despair, and shame. And so when a child experiences any of these emotions, it is the job of the primary caregiver, male or female, through facial expression and tone of voice to help them move out of those contracting emotions into what we would call expanding emotions. And those are trust, optimism, acceptance, understanding, love, joy, and then finally peace. So let me give you an example. You can have two different experiences as a child. And if these are navigated well in the early childhood years, then what happens to the child is that the child goes from experiencing these emotions like disgust. Okay, I pooped my diaper again, or let's say Muhammad pooped his diaper. Okay, and mom says, Muhammad, you know you're supposed to come tell me when you think you have to go to the bathroom. Come on, buddy, right? And she's smiling, she's talking to him, she's walking him through it. He already feels disgust. He doesn't know that that's what it is, but he feels that. However, the experience with mom in that moment is helping him understand or recognize, or at least experience, okay, I feel disgust, but this person makes me feel safe, and I'm still loved. I'm still accepted. I'm still understood, right? There's joy. And I want to make sure that we set this up with the right definition of joy, going back to the original Roman culture and Greek language, where the word joy is coming from, because joy isn't a moment. Joy is a state of being. Happiness is a happening. Joy is a state of being. So for me, joy, the definition of joy is glad to be with you in strength or weakness.
Right.
That one person you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm having a crappy day. At least VJ's called me. That's awesome. He'll get it. I can talk to him, no problem. Right? Or instead of the opposite, like you look at the phone and go, not answering that call. No thanks, because they're a joy sucker. They're not glad to be with you in strength or weakness.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if a child is experiencing those things in their early childhood up to 3 in a good way, they're saying, okay, I'm safe, I'm loved, accepted. And so they move from the negative or contracting emotion to the expanding emotion. It'll literally help them move. And so they learn how to navigate harder emotions into lighter emotions. And they experience those things. Now, if it's the other way, the other experience that many children have, and if it's harsh enough, it can go from a bad experience to a bad identity. For example, Chris, you stupid little idiot. You're supposed to come tell me when you have to change, when you have to go to the bathroom. How many times do I have to tell you about this? It's like, do I need to make you sit in it for an hour? See what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden, little Chris is going from, I feel disgusting, and if it's harsh enough, I am disgusting, and I feel shame. So it goes from emotional side of the brain to identity side of the brain, not even knowing that as they grow up. So now every time they see or hear something, or in a moment where they experience disgust from someone else, facial expression or tone, they're triggered into, oh, I'm disgusting. I must be shameful. And now they start reacting to life from that, what I would call endolog.
Right. Yeah. That's a good segue into endolog. Yeah. Let's get into it.
So endolog means inside, log being conversation. So the endolog we have inside our head, right? We're having an inside conversation in our head. And from that inside conversation in our head, now we're also forming a narrative about what is going on in the reality that we're forming in the moment. So when a boss would come to me and say, Chris, you didn't perform, or Chris, how many times do I have to tell you that you need to hit a deadline? I recognize that wording. I don't realize perhaps because I haven't done the work yet. Okay, he's disgusted with me. I feel ashamed. Wow, my word. Sir, he's going to fire me. He does not like me at all. No, look, they're all talking about me now. I can't. I think I need to look for a new job. See what I mean? That's the inside conversation that's forming a narrative that we are now going to respond to and react to. It's going to guide our interactions, going to guide how much we interact with coworkers, going to guide how we interact with our boss. It's going to guide how we go home and now speak to our wife and children. But it's not the true reality. To get the true reality, we've got to go from endolog, forming a narrative, to verbalizing, so reality can be confronted.
Can you say what is endolog again, Chris? Endolog is the discourse
inside conversation. Someone. Inside conversation we're having with ourselves.
Self-dialogue, a negative
Correct.
self-dialogue.
Negative self-dialogue. Well, it's just self-dialogue, period. It can be positive or negative.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Right? The point is, the reality we're responding to is what's going on, is a conversation we're having in our head.
Right.
It's not with me and you. It's what's going on in our head. And then now, because no one else is inside there to actually bounce this off and go, that's not what I meant.
Right.
Right? Like, what are you talking about? You're my best sales guy. Seriously, you're not going anywhere. You just need to hit a deadline.
Right.
But it's not until we get it out of our head and actually have a conversation with someone, we start reacting to what's going on and the narrative we created inside our head rather than the reality that's actually happening between two people.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So so from your question, the answer is that, childhood, literally from a childhood like that, there would likely be a lot of triggers or PTSD, or what we would call complex PTSD, because now we've got more than one traumatic event, right, that is layering on top of each other. And there's a whole bunch of different narratives and or negative identities that would affect someone growing up like that. Now, your system would eventually say, this is too much. We can't handle this. How do we get out of here? How do we numb? How do we not feel? How do we not experience this? Right. And so that's where addiction starts coming in, or just different ways to numb. So I went, in a short story, in one sentence, I went from youth pastoring, departing with the Hells Angels in Winnipeg, to building a company that was successful, losing it, to December 17th, 2018, the day I decided that all three things needed in any human's life for change to happen were together. And I was going to kill myself. So December 17th.
How old were you?
From 46.
46.
I was 46. Yeah. 46. No, 45. 46. And so I'd gone from youth pastoring for about 10 years, working with inner city kids in Winnipeg. Loved it. Loved pouring into kids. However, I've got all this trauma that's coming with me. All this baggage is coming with me. And I'm not even aware of it. And I'm reacting to life, not responding to life.
Yeah.
Which means that I'm not in control. I'm the victim of every situation that comes my way. It's not my fault. If you would speak to me with a better tone, if you would look at me differently, if you would, right? You triggered that stuff, not my fault. And so from youth pastoring, I got into my thesis. And in my thesis, that's the end of when I decided to step down from ministry, because I realized that I was living a double life and was not a man of character. I wanted to be a man of character. And I was stuck in this loop. The loop of doing something that would make me feel shame, disgusted with myself, self-loathing, completely in secret in darkness, repenting, begging God for mercy, in tears, feeling his peace, then doing what I was supposed to do, was preaching or leading worship. And then a couple of days later, because that crisis has been averted, I'm back in the same loop. Now I go back to what it was that would numb the feelings or memories or emotions that we're trying to get out. Because once you hit 30, your brain starts leaking memories.
That it starts forgetting older memories?
No, and not forgetting. It starts unlocking. Thank you. It starts unlocking the memories that have been repressed for so many years.
Okay.
Once you get into your 30s, your brain says, I'm done. I have protected you from these things. I have kept them from you, having to deal with them for too many years. You got to start dealing with them because I'm letting go. I can't hold the rope anymore. So now in your 30s, you start experiencing things. And for me, that was some pretty severe PTSD. I left ministry saying, okay, no one who is living as I am should ever be in ministry. And so I'm stepping down. And I was never honest. I was never actively honest. Go ahead.
What was your, you spent more than a decade in ministry, I suppose.
About 10 years. Yeah.
About 10 years. What was because I have my friends or cousins, some of them want to go into ministry. Some of them are moving away from ministry. So there are all kinds I get to track with. And I have my own questions too. Not that I want to be in ministry, but like, what was your takeaway from the 10 years of ministry, if we had any lessons at all from those years into ministry? Because it's a thankless job, right? I mean, I see that with my pastor, I see that with my church. So it is a thankless job, what they're doing Sunday after Sunday, week after week, a message after message, hellos and thank yous after thank yous, right? So it is a lot of sacrifice. I can definitely feel that.
It is, yeah. And, so number one, that's another whole can of worms. And let's dive in. Ministry definitely needs to be something that's a calling, okay? Because those who step into ministry will be judged more harshly than those who are not in ministry. And so if you are called into ministry, great. However, make sure that you're affirming that quote unquote calling by a mature mentor, other people in your life that are very close to you and know your day to day. Here's the thing. This is what drives me crazy today, because I wish I had it. I wish I had someone in my life who knew every area of my life, knew how I dealt with money. Because too many of us have struggled with money and then hide it from our spouses, right? Wish they knew what I was doing on my technology. Wish they knew how I treated my wife in private. Wish they knew what the struggles were I had from a child, and if I've actually done the work to deal with that or not. And you don't have to have it dealt with to go into ministry. You need to be self-aware enough, though, that you are actively working and open to learning and doing the work. That's now we're touching on the whole theme of everything that I live for and want to encourage men to do, right? That's why the tagline of my book, Growing Up at 50, Building the Legacy I Wish I Had, is 100% that. If you have to do the work every day. And I wasn't doing the work. So if you're going to go into ministry, great. But you got to have at least one wise mentor who is aware of all of the private areas of your life. And you allow them to speak into those areas. Too many people who love the idea of going into ministry because they want to be on stage, or they think they have something to share, and they likely do, or maybe they don't. However, if you're going to go into ministry, you got to know that what joy actually is, right? Because my own definition of joy you can find in the Bible, right? When is God glad to be with us? Right? The joy of the Lord is our strength. Well, that was written when David was weak. Now he was strong. The joy of the Lord. God's glad to be with me in my weakness while he's strong. Like, he's glad to be with me. He wants to be with me.
Right.
If you understand that, if you can be in a place to truly live and experience real joy, then you've got real peace. Because true joy is always accompanied with real peace. Then you'll last in ministry for decades. But if you don't, if your joy is manufactured joy, it is always accompanied with the walk of shame.
Right. I mean, I've shared this with you previously. My dad is a Hindu. My mom is a Christian. And she would drag us to the church through all our teenage years. And I never understood the concept of Christ or anything. I'm still an amateur believer. I'm trying to understand the Word of God better every time I approach it, but I'm not there yet. I clearly know I'm not there yet. I have to do more work. I'm work in progress.
Yeah, all of us are.
But I'm at least trying to approach it with the right mindset. I mean, when I was 20 years ago, I didn't even have any curiosity or even any. I was 20 years younger, so my brain was I'm growing up, so I'm trying to understand better. I'm raising a son of my own, so I have a family. So there are a lot of questions. So and you lead the family into a lot of things, and it gets lonely. I think so. Definitely, people need some kind of guidance, and definitely God seems to be. I don't know. I'm not speaking correctly, but definitely there's presence of God in everyone's life. I think people, if they really appreciate it, I think there's some good in that. But also, for a long time, I understood many of these institutions, like the faith-based institutions. It's not always the people. Also, the institution also have their intent set up in a wrong place, right? Because I often tell my mother. She used to be a treasurer in the church, and for a long time, many of the pastors are they are power hungry. They are greedy. They are behind money and whatnot. The original purpose of because they have to make a living, they can give 10,000 reasons, but at the end of the day, I felt they were not being honest, and they were there to make. I know. So they were there for the power, the money, those kind of things, which is not the intention of the institution at all. So, but this institution was ignoring it, and it was continuing to peddle that across the globe. Actually, I can see that. I can see that in Canada. I can see that in India. I can see that in the US. I've been to multiple churches myself, but being an individual, the spotlight is on that individual. They go through a ton of problems. But the institution it's also corrupt in a way. Morally corrupt. Right? The teachings, they don't seem to follow the teachings at all. Not only Christianity, Christopher. I'm taking dig at everyone. I'm taking a dig at every other religion out there and every other institution out there, because they seem to profess something with their holy book, but they don't seem to be following that from institution point of view at all. So, see where I'm coming from.
I do see where you're coming from, and I used to be in the same seat,
right?
And so I would say 10 years ago I would have been 100% in the on the exact same wagon as you. In fact, I likely would have been whipping the horses to go faster on that wagon so that we would move somewhere. I've come to a place though where I recognize that, number one, Christ died for the church. He loves the church.
Right.
Do we get it right? No. Is there a lot of religion in church? Yes. Is that of God? No. Relationship is of God. Do we need people, though, to be in community with? Yes. That's the whole point of Braveheart EQ. Inspiring men to intentionally work through true transformation, to understand. Then once you work through transformation, you'll get into your destiny, your purpose that God's designed for you, and then we can walk into building a legacy intentionally every day. And that literally, but you can't do that alone. We're designed as creatures who require community.
Mm.
And so, first of all, humility's got to be there. You've got to be, if you are in ministry, and I'm not, let's just to clarify, if you're in Christian ministry, if you're in Christian Protestant ministry, or even Catholic, then you are, what I've learned is that, number one, I got to be humble enough to understand how much grace I need.
Mm.
Two, I love Paul's model. Paul was a tent maker. He preached and had a business. Okay. Now we're not relying on other people in a popularity contest to like us enough to give us enough money. Instead, we're using what God's given us, our brain, and ideas, and supernatural ideas as well, to build business on the side, right? While we're doing ministry as well. Thirdly, if you are doing the work every day, intentionally doing the work of rewiring your brain, if you're off-roading every morning, then, and by off-roading, what I mean is you are literally intentionally dealing with the ruts that hijack your day, okay? When your past hijacks your present, it's because we're being triggered in some way. There's a culture coming forward a memory coming forward that is suddenly going to rule this moment, okay? Now, in that moment, we can't change it. We can change it, though, if we spend intentional time in the morning, every day, identifying those ruts when we're not in them, and now writing out by handwriting, so not technology, because we want to connect right and left side of the brain at the exact same time, and writing with your hand, right, connects both sides at the same time, so we're connecting emotion and logic. So now we're able to actually walk through a situation and build an off-road or yield to that experience pre-mapped. So now the next time that we have that experience, our brain can say, wait a second, there's a yield. We can get off this road. We don't have to go down this path.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. Or you give me an example if you're willing, and let's walk through it. Let's talk about how to off-road, okay? Give me an example that comes up that you're like, oh, that's from my past. It drives me crazy. I wish it wouldn't trigger my present.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like what could it be? I mean, in terms of like my past doesn't trigger my present actually so much. I'm not stuck so much in the past, and thankfully I've not been as a prisoner of the past. Like this happened 15 years ago, 5 years ago. Wish I had been there. Wish I had done that. Wish I had not done that. Sorry. I'd go through that phase a lot.
Well, I'm thinking it could just be you're not aware that it's happening. So let's think of fathering.
I'll tell you an incident like where I get off-roaded in terms of like overthinking. Overthinking is a problem for me.
Okay.
Because I do for a long time. I spent a little too much time across, like I lived across 14 different cities around the world, and I traveled a lot. I did a lot of corporate jobs. It took me a lot of different places. So thankful for the journey. I was trying to figure out life, and I went through my 20s and 30s, and like I'm 41 right now. So I was curious, and I was trying to seek answers. I had a lot of questions at one point. And thankfully, I've found some answers, which I'm willing to share with everyone in the world. I've found some answers which are useful, at least to me and people who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
So because now that you know what kind of like the truth is in a way, of course, in 2025, they say truth is subjective, which is like if 2 + 2 is 4, right? I mean, like if someone says 7, then we are having a conversation about it. But sometimes it's difficult to have a conversation. So when I've gathered so much, I was after what's life, what is the purpose of it? I was after I was seeking the truth in a way. Since I knew so much, that kind of like makes me overthink when I'm making even smaller decisions sometimes. Yeah. To keep going, right? I mean, money, for example, I mean, like I've spent around 4 years just studying money, what money is. The answers I've found out are profound, actually, because the world runs around money.
Yeah, totally.
And the entire, every country runs around money. And the people's lives are either made or destroyed because of money. But fundamentally, money doesn't mean anything, actually, because it's printed out of thin air. It is such a
What's interesting, though, is that that money always evokes emotion. So if you have a conversation with your wife, you sit down to look at the bank accounts together.
Right.
I'm curious. I'm going to give you a sentence to say, and I'm curious what you come back with. Okay? And so we're talking about reprogramming the mind. And so we know that when you're programming, if you're writing code, the code has to have the exact syntax required for the code to work. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So same thing here. Okay. I'm going to give you a sentence. You're going to fill in the gaps. And the sentence is going to go, I feel whatever the emotion is. Okay. When I think about whatever the thinking is right after. The situation we're applying this to is, let's imagine you're sitting down with your wife. You're looking at the budget for the month. You're looking at the bank accounts, looking at what you've spent and what she spent. Okay. Is that okay if we go there?
That's fine.
Okay. So now I just want you to say the one sentence. I feel, what's the emotion you feel in the moment when you're doing that? And what do you think? When I think about what? I feel blank what I think about. Go ahead and see what that brings.
I feel, I don't know what I feel. Definitely there's frustration, anger, and a lot of different emotion that comes together, right? Because we are running towards something and it doesn't mean anything, but it means everything to everyone, right? So that's that.
So let's try that. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Let's try that. I feel, give me one emotion. And then right after that, I want you to give me what you're thinking about.
Let's say frustration.
Okay. So go ahead and say that. I feel frustration.
I feel frustrated. Maybe that's what I said.
Yeah.
I feel frustrated when I think about the endless loop of how money plays a role in everybody's life, in my life, and our family's life. So.
Interesting. Because okay. So number one, what you just did is you said, I feel frustrated. Okay. So there's an emotion there that is connected to money. See what I mean? Money always evokes emotion. When I think that there's an endless loop to how money plays in our lives, and I'm curious, let's go a little further if you're open to it. What is the loop?
The loop is so
is that good or bad?
I'm at a stage like I've did a lot of corporate jobs. I'm not motivated to do another corporate job, if you will, because I've had the positions I wanted. I climbed the ladder I wanted. Here's what I found out, Chris. I spoke to so many VPs and general managers and CEOs and executives. I'm somewhere along the journey, they're not happy. Right. They've got the titles they wanted. These titles, I was speaking to Trevor the other day. He said the exact same thing. I'm glad he said the same thing. And these titles doesn't mean anything because once they walk out of the campus, no one knows who they are. Those vice presidents and those titles doesn't mean anything actually.
Yeah.
So I realized that. I felt it. Then the kind of like the circular life of the endless loop that you have with the corporate. And I feel it's also to do with the intent, because I understood when I started understanding how money works, I understood how the institution works. Because when you put a centralized authority in any institution, absolute power corrupts, right? It does corrupt absolutely. And not all institutions, maybe there are a few percentage of 5%, 10% of institutions which are still pure. I look up to those institutions, but I'm saying like most of them worldwide, it's a global problem. It's not just tied to Alberta or Canada. It's a global problem. And many of those institutions, the corporate ones, I have felt that their root intention is not at the good place. That's my feeling. I want to be wrong with this. I wish I'm wrong, but that's what it is. So
let me ask,
motivated, not me. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. So it's motivated. So I'm curious. So we're talking about institutions. Okay.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that, so now the general thinking of institutions is actually completely guiding your endolog about how you feel.
Right.
Regarding them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you don't actually know what the person at the other end of that institution is actually thinking or feeling. Is that correct?
It's absolutely correct.
Okay. So that disconnect is still creating an environment of narrative that is evoking emotion, that is directing your energy. And so this brings me right away to the whole purpose of what I love doing.
Right.
And if I may share that.
Sure, go ahead.
My passion is to, at the end of the day, the only thing I want to be known by when I die is that Chris was a man that every time I had an experience with him, I was lifted up. There was humor, there was tears, but I felt good about the experience I had with Chris. And it seems as though his words and demeanor were that of acceptance, understanding, and love. And I first want my wife to know that, and I want my children to know that. Anyone else knows that, that's great. But I want them to know that more than anyone else. To do that, I've got to do the work to make sure that I'm not allowing other things, other ideas, other institutions to control how I feel or how I respond. Or should I say react to those things? Because I would say ministry can be amazing. Church can be amazing. If people are going in there understanding that I actually am loved by God and I have joy to be with people.
Right.
I'm glad to be with them in strength or weakness. Then that means then that I'm going to have interactions with them, and the currency of relationship, which is joy, is being given back and forth. And if that's the currency that I live my life by, then I can control that. Now, I'm not controlled. If that is the case, then I don't care about titles, right? At the end of the day, what I care about is that you, VJ, understand how valuable you are. Understand how the experiences you have of traveling all over the world brings an incredible insight into different cultures and people and dynamics that can be applied with your gifts to influence a sphere of people. Everyone has a sphere of influence. And the question is, are you building that sphere with a legacy that people will want to carry? Or are you building that sphere with a legacy that people are going to want to put down like a hot potato as soon as you're dead?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I'll try to paraphrase. I mean, I at some point I felt that authentic conversations are not happening in society, neither in office or otherwise.
Yeah.
I stopped watching the mainstream news at all, like after 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
I don't watch news at all because it just makes me sad. More negative news and things like it doesn't uplift me. I mean, like if I'm just consuming news, it doesn't matter which outlet, but I don't watch the mainstream news at all. So I'm actually thankful I made the decision, and I'm also slowly coming to that decision of like cutting down social media also as much. It's like I have to post because in the business context I have to advertise and things like that. But I don't want to be as active. Also, that I'm slowly coming to that realization. But anyway, that set aside. I felt that there was a lack of genuine conversations across several places in the society, whether it's your workplace or you're in your college, in your university, or elsewhere, right? So that's when I started doing more outreach in terms of like for business, Chris. I mean, like for business, I started networking with people here in Edmonton with the Chamber of Commerce and whatnot. Yeah. Then I want to spread the conversation like globally. And like initially, like I told them, like it's going to be roaring business. The moment you start putting it has nothing to do with any of the business. It gives you more exposure. That's it. But I genuinely enjoy these conversations because I'm having an authentic moment, an honest conversation with the person on the other side of the screen. So I think those kind of conversations are more welcome, and that's what we try and do with Authentic Hustle, with Pathfinders. So I welcome more of those conversations because like people should speak the truth, how much ever they can speak the truth. So, I mean, there's so many facades that people actually live with. So that is not helpful, especially when you're representing a company or an institution or so many other things. I'm not at the victim, okay, because I failed in life because of this institution X, Y, and Z. No, I'm not at that conclusion. But I'm speaking from awareness and clarity, saying that, okay, fine, this is what it is. This is acceptance, right? Acknowledging. So I've accepted this is what the society is. But at the same time, I don't want to be that institution. I don't want to create that kind of a thing. That's why we have championed our entire thing about delivering value. I'm not going to charge someone $25 million if it only costs $100,000. So those are some like genuine reflections, self-discovery, whatever you want to call it. So.
So that makes sense, Vijay. So what I'm hearing you say is that you are looking for genuine interaction, for valued conversation with people that's authentic, because you want to leave a mark yourself. You want to leave a legacy yourself, right? And you every day. So I love this. This is because here's the idea of legacy. Legacy is not just an inheritance. It's not a monument. It's an impact as well. So the question is, are you leaving to those around you the dysfunction you grew up with? Because everyone has dysfunction. You may not have the crazy dysfunction I did, but everybody has dysfunction because we live in a sinful world. We live in a world that's broken, right? Are you intentionally dealing with those dysfunctions, though, so that you've dealt with them, so the next generation doesn't have to? That's the challenge I put to every man. Are you looking at and intentionally dealing with the dysfunctions that you have been given from the past or other people or your own thinking and patterns, so that the next generation, your children and those around you, don't have to? Because if you don't, then they have to pick it up and they have to deal with it. And that's what I vowed to not do. When I was in the Dream Center, December 17th, 2018, I woke up that morning and I thought to myself, sorry, it's freezing a bit.
Yeah. It's uploading. It should be good. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So I remember I woke up, if I may go into this story really quick. This is my life changed. December 17th, 2018, I woke up on the side of my bed. I was
but it's uploading.
in a condo.
Are you able to? Go ahead.
Okay. Good. No worries. So I'm sitting on the side of my bed. And it's actually not a bed, just a mattress on the floor. And my wife and I are separated. And I've got 3 young kids, 2, 4, and 6. They're not with me. They're with their mom. And I'm looking at my 3rd eviction notice. And by this time, I am doing everything I can to not feel or think about life because I'm ashamed of who I've become. And that day, I reach over, as I did every morning. I crack open a new bottle of vodka. And I just start guzzling from the bottle. Because by then I was drinking 2 bottles a day. No mix or anything, just straight alcohol. And I remember in that moment thinking, okay, I have nowhere to have my kids when I get them in 7 days on Boxing Day. What am I doing? Are my kids actually better having me? Or would they be better without me? And in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, I actually think they would be a lot better without me. The pain, because that's the first thing we need in life to drive us to change. The pain of staying as I was greater than the pain of changing. And for me, the change was shame in the ultimate form, because shame is a form of hiding, was to decide to hide forever. So I decided I was going to kill myself by drinking. Figure if I drink as much alcohol as I possibly can really fast, then I'll just fall asleep. I'll pass out and I'll die. So I guzzled the whole bottle of vodka in about 45 minutes to an hour. After I drank that, then I knew I had enough money to go to Costco and get a 1.5 liters of Captain Morgan's rum. Thinking, well, it's going to be my last thing to drink. I'm going to make sure it's the good rum that I like, not the garbage I've been drinking. And so I drive to Costco. I drive to another town, and I'm ashamed to say that, but I drive from High River to Okotoks. I park in front of Costco, the liquor door. I go in, I get my bottle of rum, I come out, I sit in the driver's seat right in front there. I didn't care who was watching. I open up the bottle and I start guzzling from the bottle in the parking lot. And I guzzle until it's burning my throat so bad I have to stop. After that, I put the cap back on the bottle and I put the captain in the passenger seat beside me and I pull out of the parking lot. And sure enough, the police pull me over immediately. And I remember thinking to myself as I was watching them come to my car in the side view mirror, Chris, just make him laugh. Just make him laugh. And so he comes up, I roll open the window, and I remember saying to him, how many of us idiots have you pulled over already from doing U-turns? Seriously, if you don't have a quota, you should get one because we're going to fill it up for you today. And he started laughing. And I handed my driver's license registration. Open bottle of rum in the passenger seat right beside me. He takes my driver's license registration, goes back to the cop car. Comes back and he hands me a ticket. And I said, thank you. Hopefully this will change the way I drive and I'll never do this again. You'll never see me again, I said. And he laughs and walks away. I got a ticket for a U-turn. Drunker than a skunk. I remember driving up to the light. I don't remember turning left. I don't remember getting home. I don't remember the 4 people apparently I called on the way home. What I do remember is someone calling me once I was in my condo in High River. And that person said, Chris, are you ready to go to rehab yet? No one had asked me that. Well, I decided change needs to happen. And I remember thinking in that moment, I didn't say this, but I remember thinking the endologue I had in that moment was, well, heck yeah, going to rehab's not as painful as killing myself. So I'll go to rehab. Sounds good. So I call my best friend Dave at the time, who's also my sponsor, which I'd been lying to, manipulating. But then I was drinking 2 bottles a day, doing coke to try and stay awake while I was drinking in between, and was very ashamed. And I called him and I said, Dave, I'm going to rehab. Come pick me up tomorrow. I'm going to Calgary Dream Center. So you sure? Like, yeah, totally. I said, listen, I'm dumping out the alcohol. I put my phone on speaker and I dumped out what was left of the 1.5 liters of rum, which was maybe about 1/5 of the bottle left. And I dumped that out over speaker. What he didn't know is that prior to calling him, I'd filled up a wine goblet to the brim with rum. And once I hung up with him, I guzzled that whole thing. Well, I don't remember anything for the rest of the day. The next morning, he comes to pick me up from my ex-wife's house. I don't even remember getting there. What I do know is that when I got to the Dream Center, humiliated, I've got a degree, I've got diplomas, I've been making really good money, and I'm now in a place where it's a sober living place for men. Men have been here 2, 3, 17, 22 times going through rehab. And I'm there for the first time. I remember walking in there, very humble. Now I'm sharing a hotel room with 2 other men. And I remember thinking to myself, well, God, obviously everything I think I know about you is wrong. Because what I think I know about you and how smart I think I am, it's gotten me here. So I need to let go of everything I think I know and be willing to learn. I started journaling like crazy. I did CBT, I did DBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. I saw the psychologist every day. At that time, it was a 49-day program. And I went through that. I'm going to be the best dang rehab student you've ever seen. And I was 100% like just willing to learn. And I remember one day that changed my thinking about everything. And I was praying. And I remember the Lord saying, you trust my son Jesus, but you don't trust me as your father. And I remember thinking really quick, and I said right back to the Lord, of course I don't. Dads are useless. You're going to turn on me. You're not going to show up. You're not going to do anything you say you're going to do. Jesus, well, he died for me. He hung on the cross. He took all my garbage and put it on himself and hung up there for me. But Dad, no, I'm not going to trust you. Well, I remember saying, you need to give me a chat. And I then started praying and asking God to show himself to me. What is a good dad like? Is it possible? Can God actually be good? Can he be a good father? And I remember that day, he overwhelmed me with his love so powerfully. I laid prostrate on the floor for about 2.5 hours, just weeping as I felt his presence like a waterfall falling on my head and back of his love. And he was saying things like, I love you. I believe in you. I see you. I was there when you were being abused, Chris. I was there and I was weeping for you. I wanted to hold you and I made sure that you didn't die. I made sure you haven't gone to jail. I made sure you have no criminal record because you've got a purpose, Chris. Luke 22:32. He didn't tell me what it was. He just said that. And I remember having to get up off the floor and read that. But I do remember him saying, Luke 22:32. That's your purpose. That's your purpose. And later that night, he woke me up at 1:08 in the morning. I heard a knock on the door in the Dream Center. I go inside, I go to the door. Well, all our doors are locked, right? You can't leave in your room at night. And I open the door, no one's there. So I go into the bathroom and I look myself in the mirror, and then I very clear. Oh, go ahead.
I just brought the verse, but I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. Is that the verse? Did I pick it up?
That is the verse. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that is the verse. Yep. But that
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's a good verse. That's my verse. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I remember him saying to me, "Chris, I'm birthing a new ministry in you." And I didn't understand that because I had left ministry ashamed. I had left ministry I decided I wasn't kicked out. I wasn't discovered, nothing like that. But I left ministry. I remember reading that passage and going, what are you talking about? Like you knew Peter was going to screw up. You knew he was going to deny you. And yet you still gave him purpose after he did that? What is that? And I remember the Father saying, that's because I love you, Chris. I am kind and compassionate and willing that none should perish. So when you come back, when you turn back, Chris, work through your garbage and then strengthen your brothers. And so that became my mission. That became my mission. I have since then discovered that God is compassionate. God is kind. God is gentle. One day while I was in the Dream Center, I remember asking him, while I was in the Dream Center for about a year and a half, I used to call him Heavenly Daddy. I didn't have a daddy that I could connect with. In my memory, I don't remember 75% of my childhood. I only remember most of the dark stuff. And I'd call him Heavenly Daddy. I remember one day I said, Heavenly Daddy, would you provide me $20 today? Just so I could go get a coffee at a coffee shop and feel like a normal person. Because I put out 3,000 resumes that year. I had done project management for oil and gas. I'd done business analysis and technical analysis for oil and gas. I'd run an IT company. I had all kinds of skills. And it didn't make any sense as to how come I couldn't get a job anywhere. Because God was protecting me from myself. And that day when I said, would you provide $20? I remember I just prayed, I let it go, and I left the room, went downstairs. No sooner did I get downstairs to the cafeteria and a guy comes up and goes, hey, Chris, you still got those emotional intelligence cards? Yeah. I'll give you $20. Go get me a deck. I'm like, yeah, totally. I run upstairs. I get a deck of cards. I bring them down and I hand them to him. He gives me $20. Like God's real. His compassion and kindness is real. He wants to not only show how good he is and that he loves us, but he wants to show us how we can be an example of that to our own children, the people in our lives. Then I left the Dream Center. I moved into second stage housing, a house that's still monitored. It's still sober living. And I remember asking the Lord before I left, Lord, by this Christmas, okay, this is because I went in December, right? So now I'm praying, and this is April. I'm like, Lord, would you give me my own place so I could have my kids? Because I haven't been able to see my kids.
This 2019?
Yeah. I haven't seen my kids. In fact, every night as a grown man at 46, I hugged the little Build-A-Bear that my kids had made for me the year before for Father's Day. And they'd put 3 hearts into that little Build-A-Bear. And there were days that were so hard that I wanted to give up. I wanted to just...
Man, you've gone through a lot, yeah.
And I decided, and I would hug that bear and be like, that's it. I am the dam. I am not allowing the dysfunctional past to be let go and put on my children. I will fight. If I'm alive, I'm going to fight and deal with every negative reaction and victim statement I've ever lived with and dysfunction so that I can deal with it and I can hand them a legacy that's light, that is a joy, that they be happy to carry forward, that builds their identity. And when I left the Dream Center, though, what I realized is that I had done the beginning work, but I hadn't done the actual work. And the actual work is reprogramming your mind. Romans 12, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, or by the reprogramming of your mind. Well, reprogram your mind means you need to actually start thinking about the right things. You need to renew your mind with new, healthy information. But you also need to practice thinking the right way. So instead of allowing my childhood to be projected on my kids, I had to start doing the work every day and every morning, getting up at 5 o'clock, saying my creed every single morning. As soon as I get up here, I have coffee, and I stand up straight, and I say this out loud, right? I tell the truth fast. I take radical ownership. I train daily. I lead like Jesus. I build freedom for others, and I'm building a legacy worth carrying. After that, I read the word for a while, then I pray for a while, then I start journaling. Now I'm going to rewrite things in my mind, because I want to do the intentional work of creating those off-roads, as I said, so that when someone says something to me and I want to react, I want to catch someone doing something wrong, because that means I'm in control from my past. Instead, I'm open. I'm not trying to catch them. I'm letting them be who they are and experience life as they are, and guiding them with a gentle hand, the same as the Father does us. They want to be there. But that's the work we have to do. So I developed a system only because this is what I did for me. 15 minutes a day, twice a day. You go through these little things that I do. You will reprogram your mind. You will change your language. You will change your destiny. And you will build legacy, whether you like it or not, that is worth carrying for the rest of your life. I don't care if you do anything else. You do these, you will build legacy worth carrying. But and that your kids will carry, that you will build, and right, and so on. And that's the whole thing with Braveheart EQ, is also to get together as a brotherhood and connect, like we're doing now, like VJ, right? Like, what is leadership? Leadership is leading yourself. Leadership is owning your own garbage and not being the victim to stuff. I was a fabulous victim. Oh my word, for years I had a victim statement down like I was at the police. Tell me your story, Chris. Well, I was abused by so many people from 2 to 17, and and blah blah blah, and that's why I am who I am. Oh, poor you. Sucks to be you. You're right. Life sucks. No, it doesn't. No, because I own it. I own how I reacted. I own what I have done. I own the wake of pain that I created. I own that.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm changing it.
No, sorry. Before I say anything, if I could give you a virtual hug, like I want to give you a virtual hug from here. I mean, I wish we did it in person, but yeah, I'm out of words, actually. I mean, what you've gone through as a parent, as a father. Before I ask you about cortex circuit and the other things, I had a quick question that because I see a lot of observation in North America. I don't know what the number is, but in US, it's the divorce rate is close to 40-50%, highest in the world. That's a whole other topic that we could speak for hours. But what does that do to the society? Right? I mean, that's a child without a parent, right? I mean, most of them are like there. You see many single mom stories. I mean, like a lot of children are actually growing up without dads, which is a real problem. Yeah, and we see the kind of crime that's happening in the society. I mean, the moment we speak about these things, the politics arrives, but the fact is fact. I mean, the divorce rate is higher. And children, I mean, I'm concerned about the children, actually, because the children suffer. Yeah, right? Totally. They grow, right? And that's what I'm concerned about. Like, it's not about the payouts going to moms. And yes, that's fine. But how do we recover from a society like that, Chris? Because the more I've shared this with Kelly and others many times, I don't speak about myself much, actually, because it doesn't excite me, or I'm not a good marketer of like what I've done and like things like that. So we gave a presentation, the portions where I had to speak about my past. I mean, it was really like painful, because like I don't enjoy that. I don't know, but there are things that I care about, things in the society, the way things are. I mean, if someone is suffering, I mean, especially with the Charlie Kirk thing, like I told you the other day, I mean, I really felt that like I lost my own brother, actually, because he's the exact same age as him, 31 years old. Yeah. I felt for him. But like bringing back to the conversation, like the divorce rate and what's happening in North America is children are suffering actually in large scale, right? I mean, like, where do you see this society going, and what's the result of this actually? And why is it happening, you think?
Yeah, I mean, no, there's so many reasons, I'm sure, but so this is, I believe this with all my heart. If men were to show up and work on true transformation, so own their emotions. Here's the thing, own your emotions. Don't be a victim in your emotions. And what I mean by that is you have an interaction with your wife. She says something to you. She starts expressing how she feels. And that makes you feel uncomfortable. So because you feel uncomfortable, then you perhaps say, well, no, you have to have a positive mindset rather than allowing her to feel and express what she wants to feel and just validating that without fixing it, but you push it down. You actually silence her. You don't allow her to feel as though she's heard.
Right.
This is men in general, not you, okay?
Right.
In general.
Yeah.
We don't allow our wives to feel. Instead, we try to shut them down or quiet them or change the subject or fix them or tell them what they need to do. And that's the problem right there. And then all of a sudden they're upset. They're more upset. They're hurt. They're unseen. They are not validated. They are perhaps condescended to. And then we get frustrated. Go, well, what's the problem? Like, what's going on here? Like, seriously, we all just finished. Like, you're crying. I mean, I told you how to fix it. What's going on? And now all of a sudden, what did I do wrong? How come everybody's upset with me? See, victim. Leadership is, if men were to walk into true leadership, reparent yourself, own your stuff, let those who are hurting express their hurting without judgment, without telling them how to fix it. Just hold space. Let them feel. It's uncomfortable. It's as uncomfortable as all get out. Then they feel heard. Then they feel accepted. Then they feel loved. Then they open the door to hear something from you later or the next day. Men need, if we did the work, if we realized that we can change, that we do have purpose, that we do have value, that little Chris and little VJ don't need to protect us from certain circumstances or moments in our lives anymore, but rather adult Chris and adult VJ are here to take care of that instead. And we actually speak to that person. Then all of a sudden that person's going to stop showing up. And now we get to lead ourselves. And now once we lead ourselves, then we can lead others. We can literally change an entire nation if men were to show up and do true transformative work. We love watching podcasts. We love watching TEDx's. We love going to conferences. We love doing the affirmations. Great. Affirmations is part of it. But there's more work than that. You got to do the deep thinking. You got to do the writing out. Okay, what's the lie I'm believing today? How come that conversation with that customer went that way? How come I felt irritated with that interaction with that person? Do the work. Investigate it. See what's going on. If you're feeling one of those negative emotions, anger, disgust, sadness, fear, sadness, hopeless despair, or shame, that means you're stuck. That means in that moment, you're actually stuck in your amygdala. You are not able to attune or align with the person in front of you. That's the cortex circuit. So anytime someone is experiencing those things in front of you, or you're experiencing it, and that's how we get wise or become self-aware. That's what emotional intelligence is. So the I feel when I think thing I told you about, you practice that with different emotions, and you actually spend time going, I feel angry. Okay. Now I'm going to think, what does angry feel like? Okay. How do I show up? What is my face doing? What's my body doing? Oh, I feel like I feel this control, this tightness in my chest. I feel my shoulders getting tense. I feel angry when I think about children being abused. I feel angry when I think about women being victimized or just being treated as less than anywhere in the world. I feel disgust when I think about those things that people have done to me in the past as a child. Not about the person, but the things. I feel fear And so we got to take that time to practice feeling those emotions beforehand. If men were to do that, then you would recognize when those emotions are coming up. And then all of a sudden that would make you aware of the situations that you're not actually showing up the way you want to show up, which means you're not leading, you're becoming the victim. And as Mel Robinson studies in her book called Let Them, she said some statistics of I think it was like 90% of all people show up as an 8-year-old child sometime throughout the day.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Right. Exactly. I know I do. But that's what I mean by doing the work. Identify those times when you're showing up as an 8-year-old child and figure out, why is 8-year-old Chris showing up here? Oh, because he thinks being funny is making someone else feel less than. Well, what the heck is that all about? That's not what I stand for. That's right. The only kind of humor he ever experienced as a child was when his parents made fun of him.
Right.
Or, yeah.
My 8-year-old, I don't know what age, like 8-year-old, 10-year or 15-year, but when I go to DQ or something with my son to go get an ice cream or something, like, I don't know, my age drastically drops instantly.
Yeah.
And we debate which ice cream to pick up, and like he picks one, I pick one, and I mean, moments like that. I mean, so it definitely, he's
and that can be a good older.
Yeah, it has to be a good one.
That can be a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good one. Yeah. I enjoy it actually I'll tell you one other example, Chris, in terms of like, I've come to the mindset that I don't know everything. Because I don't know everything. I know a few things. Yeah. Yes, I know a few things, but I don't know a million things. But that's actually good because when someone says me, tells something, for example, endolog. I mean, I had no idea what endolog was. But I'm saying that so many terms like that, which is like, I have no idea what it is. But at least it gives me an opportunity to go and research and find out what it is. That is one. And the other one is like, I think we can, as a society, I'm coming to the acceptance that I have the opportunity to learn from anyone, from you, from Colin, from Kelly, from so many others in the community society. I'll share you an incident right around COVID, actually.
Yes.
The entire society was locked down and we were wearing masks. All adults were supposed to wear masks. I was living in the west of Toronto at the time. We were not in Alberta. Since we're here since 2023, I think.
Okay.
Or 22. Yeah, it's been 3 years now in Alberta.
Okay.
At the time during COVID, we were in Ontario, and we came to the promised land, and like, we love it, Alberta. By the way, cheering for Alberta. I love Alberta, and in Ontario, and like we're in the lockdown, and everything was locked down. So I was at the grocery store, right, and all adults were masked up, and there was this little girl, right. You remember the kids were not wearing the mask. I mean, and she was smiling and giggling, and actually gave the eyes was like opening up and actually smiling. That made my day, actually, because like she was cheerful, she was happy, and like and I couldn't see any adult because they're all masked up and right. I learned from that kid actually, because like doesn't matter what it is, because she was not thinking of, because the best part I love about children is they're not thinking about the past or the future. They're just in the moment there. Correct. Right? Oh, the candy right in front of them, or whatever they are doing. They are in the moment. I brought that quality. I try and bring that quality as much as I can whenever possible to be in the moment, not to overthink about the future or overthink about the past. So I always think about that moment of that child that smiled, that she made that. Yeah, it was a great day. So I bring back that story every time I think of COVID, and so that's a positive experience from. So I could learn from even children, is what I'm saying. She's a toddler, probably 3-4 years old, but like, so anyone can learn from anybody, actually, if you look at.
And to your point too, is you can learn from anyone if you're in the right place and in your mind, right?
That's right.
I had an interaction recently with someone who has a lot of value, has a lot of learning, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and the interaction I had with them was not positive. They were doing what I would call giving unsolicited advice. When someone's like, well, VJ, let me just talk to you about your business. What you actually should be doing, you haven't asked for it. Right? You ever had those experiences where you're like, where is this coming from? I didn't ask you to talk about my business. My business actually is none of your business.
That's right.
And then and I had that experience with a person. And I remember, thinking, at the time, this is not someone I want to connect with. And then it kind of nagged me, kind of like was bugging me. And I was listening to something from Napoleon Hill today. And he's talking about personality and building and growing in your personality. Because I want to do that. Like I said, my goal is that everyone feels lifted up after they've had an opportunity to spend some time with me. And I thought, okay, well, what if this person has things of value that I don't even know I'm missing? So I evaluated the situation. Said, okay, do I trust them? Well, they're not asking me to trust them. Okay. Do they have something that I would like to know about? Well, I'd like to know more about them. I'd like to know more about their experience. Okay. Are they harmful? No. Just rub me the wrong way in one conversation. Okay. Then why not give them a chance? Yeah, that's likely a good idea. And so I did. And I reached out. And all of a sudden there's a different experience there. And perhaps it'll be an incredible connection. Perhaps it won't, but that's okay. I can figure that out as we go. Like you said, we can learn from anyone, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious, with all of your traveling, what would you say are the top 3 things you've learned?
There's more in common with people than is not. I've interacted with. Did I lose your feed? Okay, so I've interacted with people from Asia, from India. Of course, I'm originally from there. So Americans, Canadians, and like Japanese, all different races, ethnicities. And their culture is different, but I found out that there's definitely common ground. They all kind of seem to want the same thing in a way, because they want a safe place to live, a good family, and probably a warm meal by end of the day. And I think maybe some would order steak, some would order chicken, and some would order tofu or something. But they all are aspiring for the same thing. That's a common ground right there, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether they are a conservative or a liberal or a Republican or a Democrat. You have a common ground right there. Oh, do you like ice creams? I like ice creams too. That's a common ground as well, right? Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that there's more in common than I thought of. I'll tell you an example. Until my 25, 26, 27 years, almost there, I was born and grew in India, right? So just quick 10-second history is that, like, in 1947, India got its independence from the British and whatnot. So there was another neighboring country called Pakistan, so we were separated. So that's history, right?
Yeah.
From the very first day, and like until I was there for 26 years, every day we were told that we were supposed to not like Pakistan, like the Russia thing here. It's there, right? I mean, like, I have some good friends also who are from Russia. Great guy. He lives in Montreal, by the way. But I'm saying we were supposed to like hate them. Like, you're not supposed to like them, and that's the propaganda, right?
Oh, wow.
I mean, like, hate in sense, it's not pumped in the news every day, but it's in the movies, it's in the mainstream narrative, it's in the propaganda is like that. Maybe it's good or bad, I have no idea. Right? But I haven't met a single neighboring country person from Pakistan until I was 27 years old, right? So they don't live there. So even though they're neighboring countries, they were part of the former same colony, same country, and whatnot. So the first person from Pakistan I met was in Philadelphia when I was in the US. So I was there for work, and it was a 25 minute cab drive, and the cab driver happened to be a Pakistani, right? I was like super nervous. Should I tell my friends that I'm traveling with this guy? I mean, will I be safe? Will I go to the place? I mean, like, right? So see how paranoid I was, because that's the first time I'm encountering a person, right? But the guy, he happens to be a poet, a really well-read, wearing beautiful blue shirt, better dressed than how I'm dressed right now, right? And kudos to him, like, big mush and whatnot. And he's a poet, and he told me a poem through that cab drive. Right? I don't remember the poem, but like, it was a beautiful poem that he said, like, and oh wow, I was wrong, and right. So there were multiple instances like that. Then I was in Toronto. One of my past realtors, she's from the country, Beautiful lady, actually. I mean, like, if my mom had a sister or something, amazing lady. What a gem of a woman she was.
Mm.
Many of those biases actually, I'm slowly like getting rid of those biases because it doesn't mean anything. Today I've come to the conclusion that I don't want to hate anybody. There's nothing you gain by hate, because hate is often funded by someone for a reason. I mean, the more people are divided, people are actually profiting off the division. So I don't want to be in the camp of like hating people, but I want to be in the camp of like bringing people together than spreading a word of hate for anyone, right? So
Yeah.
that's a simple lesson I learned from my travel stories.
Interesting. That is very interesting. And, and that's to your point too, then. What's interesting is that emotions show up in the brain, no matter what language or culture, exactly the same. There is no difference. Now, the average person who speaks English uses 12 emotions or less to define how they feel at any given time throughout the day, throughout their life. Do you know how many emotions there are, or different ways to explain emotion in the English language?
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Some say between 20 and 30,000.
Wow.
And the average
20 and
person
30,000 emotions to convey something? Or?
Yeah, 20 to 30,000 different ways to explain how you feel.
Okay.
And different emotions. And yet we use 6 to 12 to explain ourselves. Imagine how much deeper the conversation would be if we understood and could use different emotions in conversation. So what you're explaining, for example, is that there's more in common than out of common. There is more congruency in the way people experience humanity than there is incongruency, just using different words. But it's true. And so it is interesting that emotions show up the same way in the brain. So the cortex circuit I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a workshop for the Catalyst Club here in October on the cortex circuit. It's something that I explain and I work through with clients. And then I do something called a freedom session based on the cortex circuit. In that, I help people experience insight, release, truth, and freedom from one area of life that is hijacking and stopping them from moving forward with success, whether it be relationship, whether it be professional, whether it be parenting, whether it be physical, emotional, whatever it is. I had a client that I helped. I've had the privilege of helping a lot of people. And what's interesting is that before I went to the Dream Center, I used to help a lot of people. And I remember after helping them, I remember I'd have people pay me $1,000 to do a 2-hour session. Okay. To walk through things with them, help them rewrite their story, and they'd be set free. And at the end of that, I would leave those sessions on one hand feeling like that was fabulous. I got a rush. That's so cool. That's amazing that they are experiencing that freedom. And then on the other hand, a few minutes later, I'd be like, I wish someone could help me. I'm living a lie. I don't have my own freedom. I wish someone helped me. And that's the biggest difference. By the grace of God, I'm writing my book and doing this work now because I'm doing it from character. I've done and still do the work every day. I'm doing it from experience of what it looks like to be free. You ever heard the passage of scripture that says, he whom the sun sets free is free indeed?
Sounds very familiar. Definitely should have heard from the message or my pastor. So sounds very
I love
familiar.
that passage. It's a great passage. What frustrates me about the experience of that passage is when culture or groups of people immediately assume or infer that simply by accepting Christ as your Savior, you should be free from everything. Well, it's talking about a spiritual truth because our identity is spirit. Vijay, you are not a man. You are actually a spirit. You are not a brain. You are not a body. You're spirit. This helped me in the Dream Center when I was walking through a whole bunch of stuff going, like, where the heck were you? Why? Like, was I born into animosity? Was I created out of hatred? And I remember the Lord speaking to me saying, and showing me in scripture, I created you as spirit with defined purpose before I even put your spirit in your mother's womb. So no matter how horrible anyone's upbringing is, they were created in love with defined purpose or destiny. Destiny is experienced in building legacy. Destiny is, Ephesians 2:10, is actually walking out the defined purposes and good works that God created for you to do before you're even born. So you get saved and you're saved, but you have to do the work every day to make sure the flesh, our bodies, line up with the spiritual truth that we're instantly made right before God, so that our body and mind and mouth align with the rightness that we now have spiritually with the Father. And that's doing the work. And when you start doing the work, we're actually called to do the work. So anyone says, I'm saved, I'm good. No, you're not. You're living in disobedience every day. God has called you to intentionally grow and change and do the work so that you can be the expression of who he is as you. It's not, I want to be more like Christ. That's awesome. Great. Be more like Christ.
Right.
But I'd rather you be Vijay, who exemplifies the character of Christ. Because God created Vijay with a purpose. And there's gifts, Vijay, that you have, experiences you have, that I need. Do I want to see Jesus in you? Yes. But I know I want to see Vijay. I want to see who you are. And I want to see the character of Christ in Vijay. But I want to see Vijay.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I mean, thank you. And and I'm so glad I met you. And I'm immensely happy that we're doing this conversation.
Yeah.
And I wish the same for you. I pray and wish the exact same for you. And yeah, so I don't know, Chris. I mean, the moment I stopped thinking about me and started thinking about others, I think the life opened up to me actually, because this entire business world. I mean, I've made posts 5-6 years ago in LinkedIn, and I look at them, I laugh because it's at some point I felt like it's, dude, it's not about you. It's about the person reading it. It's about the person consuming it. It's about them. It's not about your life. I mean, Jesus lived a life of purpose. I mean, he lived for others. I mean, he died for our sins, right? I mean, he died in the cross for our sins. So, so it completely changed the script. When I started thinking about others, when I started putting the others first, and so it completely changed the script. And that's, I mean, I think life is it's a service. It's a life. Yeah. I mean, to see the purpose, you should see where you can serve. And many people would accept that business is a kind of a service. It is actually, because you're spending time, you're spending your life, and because the time is the ultimate currency. Someone said it, right? I mean, it's not coming back. Time is an ultimate currency. 80, 70 years, 90 years. That's a life you're living.
I think Collins says that. Collins big on that.
Yeah. Right. So it is the ultimate currency, and you're living that life to serve some people. I don't know. Money is cheap, actually. Joy. I mean, what you're paid for, joy. Yeah.
Joy. Joy is the experiential currency.
Right.
Time is currency. But what do we live for? We live for joy. We live to experience life with people that we're glad to be with in strength or weakness, so that we can help each other out to be better.
Right. Yeah.
And then whether we have money or not, you can still have a relationship. And don't get me wrong, money's not bad. I welcome it. I welcome it. The intent of how you use it can be bad. So I welcome billions. By all means, bring it on. Only so that I can use it to, as you said, serve others. I want to see a movement of men who are growing, intentionally leading themselves and fulfilling their purpose. Doing the transformational work every day, then identifying what their purpose is, and then building legacy, changing lives, changing cultures, changing cities for them, for those that they have direct connection to. I bet you've got connections in India that I would love to be able to connect to, but you've got them. So you have influence.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll work together. Absolutely.
You are. Yeah. Sorry, can I just share this one verse? Because I love this. Is that okay? And then I know that I don't want to take too much more of your time, but Ephesians 2:10, this is the destiny work I was talking about, okay? Ephesians 2:8 and 9 is one that we hear in churches all the time. And I'm going to read from the Passion Translation just because I love it. I love the way it explains it. 8:2-8, Ephesians 2:8. For by grace you've been saved by faith. Nothing you did could ever earn this salvation. For it was the love gift from God that brought us to Christ. So no one will ever be able to boast, for salvation is never a reward for good works or human striving. So you can't work to get into heaven. You can't work to be valuable. You can't work to be accepted. God just does. You choose. But he already created you with value. Well, verse 10 is once you hear this, I'm just going to warn you now, once you hear this, you have no excuse to not live according to your destiny. You ready? Okay. We have become his poetry, a recreated people that will fulfill the destiny he's given each of us. For we are joined to Jesus, the Anointed One. Even before we were born, God planned in advance our destiny and the good works we would do to fulfill it.
Wow. Even before we were born. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are good works, as you said, to serve others. There are good works he has designed for you to do, VJ. For Chris to do. Like, that's why I don't get to be a victim. That's why I don't get to, by all other accounts, I should be an addict who lives on the streets. I should be dead several times over. When you think back to the one experience I shared in my childhood, I got likely about 75 experiences like that I could share with you. But what matters, though, is that the past, I choose the past to not define me.
But it brought you here. I mean, look at what you're doing right now. It brought you here.
Yeah, it did. You're right. It did. That did. And if I had known what I know now, of course, in my 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, then I would have started doing the work earlier. However, I didn't, and that's okay. I love the fact that I get to do it now. But there are good works that I have to do. I don't get a free ride. I get a free ride, but I still there's impact to make. There's lives to change. There's people to inspire and encourage. There's people to bless. There's, by the grace of God, I want to be a multimillionaire so I can bless others and help them grow. Not for me, but to bless them. Right? Yeah, VJ, man, I love. Thanks for allowing me even to share it.
No, it was a brilliant conversation. It was unlike any other conversation. It is very unique. It was different. And then when you speak about, I see the joy in when you're sharing those stuff, like about Endolog and the Cortex Circuit and so many amazing fun stuff. Braveheart, EQ. He's writing a book, folks, Building the Legacy I Wish I Had. Right, Chris? So
Building a
growing
legacy
up at 50. Building the legacy I wish I had. So I can see the joy when you're sharing stuff. So I'm thankful for this conversation. I'm excited for your journey. The little part that I could do is to have this conversation, and I've learned a lot in this conversation. I look forward to keeping in touch, and if there is any way I can help, I'll be happy to do that. Chris, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your incredible thoughts, your life journey. A lot of wisdom in there. Thank you so much. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. I appreciate it as well. And I love who you are. I appreciate who you are. God, thank you.
God bless you. God bless. Thank you. Thank you.
Bless you too.
I'm just going to stop.